It's been a very busy week in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Atlantic Coast Conference getting set for the 2024 football season. ACC Kickoff is here. Yesterday, we heard from Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils. What exactly did we learn? Find out on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Thursday, July 25th, 2024. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A very special shout-out to our everydayers out there who make this program a part of what you do daily. We really do appreciate that. Let us know in the comments down below if you are an everydayer. Talking about comments, that's, of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, you should do that each and every day. Hit the subscribe button to our channel, like this video, share it with your friends. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day on podcasts. If you're listening on the Apple Podcast platform, I'd really appreciate you leaving a 5-star rating and written review. The algorithm's big fans of those written reviews. So seriously, it helps a whole lot if you can leave us one of those 5-star written reviews. Make sure that you check us out there, wherever you get your podcast, and subscribe. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. This week has been ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. Jordan Mann is here with us from the Big J and Little J show to talk a little Duke football. What a week it has been there in the Queen City. Jordan, you now call Charlotte home. Charlotte calls the ACC home as the ACC headquarters have now moved there. We've been in Uptown all week long talking about the conference ahead of another exciting season. People are turning in their ballots for the projected order of finish within the league. Those will be released first of next week. But here we are, man. Everybody converging into Charlotte, North Carolina to mark the start of an upcoming ACC football season.
Yeah, it feels weird that Charlotte was home for one day to a football team that has won games. So shout out to Duke football for winning games, unlike the Carolina Panthers. But yeah, like it's awesome to have Duke in the city that I live in. Obviously, I didn't make the ACC Media Day, but to know that they're in Uptown, South End, wherever, it's always cool to know that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Excited to kind of dive into what was said from Manny Diaz and the players there that were selected. 5 players for Duke made the rounds at ACC Kickoff. Way more players than other teams have. That, of course, is because Duke had 2 quarterbacks that were selected and brought an additional player for the heck of it. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. But first time Manny Diaz takes the podium as the Duke Blue Devils head coach. He's been an ACC coach previously at Miami. He's also had time in his coaching career at the likes of NC State and Florida State. So well-versed in the ACC. Coach Diaz talking about, hey, this is my 16th season coming up within the Atlantic Coast Conference. Safe to say he knows what to expect. Maybe not with these new schools joining the league out in California and Texas, but man, he seems fired up for this season.
Yeah, 16 years in the ACC. That's crazy. I mean, I did not know that. But it's good for Duke. Like you said, he's familiar with the ACC, and if you want to put out like his history, like Mac Brown, he was his DC at Texas, and that didn't go well. And so he's going to have some revenge games on this upcoming season for him. But yeah, he's calm and collective. He's quiet. Manny's a quiet guy compared to Elko. Elko is more out there, and Manny's more close to the vest. But, look, that's just neither is the right way or the wrong way. It's just 2 different type of coaching personalities. But I'm excited for the Manny Diaz. I don't know, Manny or Diaz days, whatever the slogan is for Manny. We'll come up with something. But I'm comfortable and I'm happy with him. That was my number 1 choice of this past offseason, JJ, and I can't wait to see him on week 1 in the sidelines.
Yeah, he had his finest suit on yesterday there in Charlotte at 50 years old, still as fit as can be. I mean, he looks like he could do a number on any of your everyday average Joes in a weight room if you were to spot Manny Diaz out there.
Yeah, see, I'm curious to know what his wardrobe is going to be on game days. Elko was a sweatshirt guy. He's a big guy, so he's a sweatshirt guy. Is Manny is he going to bring back the suits? Like, going to look sharp on the sidelines? Are you going to wear a zip? I'm curious to know how he's going to dress up on Duke's sidelines.
Without a doubt. We're talking about college football changing, college athletics changing, talking conference realignment all the time, NIL, transfer portal, all these various things. Transfer portal, certainly a topic of conversation for Duke when you have a coaching change. And one of the big things that Manny Diaz wanted to talk about was simply that his players were bought in to him and to new coaches kind of joining. A couple of coaches still there from last season's staff. But I think that's really big to hear the buy-in from Coach Diaz saying that the players kind of welcomed him with open arms. It's his program now, and it seems like they're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, he did a really good job when he came in. There was a couple of starters in the portal that decided to come back to Duke. Jalen Stinson, I think Terry Moore even. I don't know if he officially went in the portal, but there was talks he was going in the portal. I know I'm missing a couple more. But Jaquez Moore was a guy that was in the portal, came back. And then obviously you add a Malik Murphy, who on paper is the biggest transfer commit of all time at Duke. Obviously Riley Leonard leaving is a big loss in what we saw the last 2 years from Riley. But you see on paper, Duke upgraded at the coaching position in terms of resumes, and then quarterback play. Now, on the field is a different story, but it's kind of crazy talking about this offseason that Duke technically on paper upgraded.
And you look at the defense that Manny Diaz had at Penn State the past couple of seasons, the best in all of college football. He's known as a defensive guy. Mike Elko ran one hell of a defense for the Duke Blue Devils in his tenure there. A little bit of turnover on that defensive front in particular. Obviously, no Dwayne Carter for Duke, but pretty cool to hear Manny Diaz feel excited about what the defensive unit could be. And again, talking about his familiarity with the ACC, like he knows the style of football that's going to be in place.
Yeah, and you could tell that by his coordinator hires on the defensive side of the ball. Like DC, this came in from Texas State, was under Manny Diaz as a positions coach, I think, when Manny was a DC. And same with like the linebackers coach. I'm pretty sure there's some familiarity to where he trusts the defensive staff to put the guys that they know the defense, put those guys in the right position. And there will be question marks. Like you said, Dwayne Carter's gone, massive loss. Jamion Franklin was another one up front. But I saw Manny said during the AC Media Day that Vincent Anthony Jr. Has really hit the weight room or has worked out a lot this summer. And I'm excited for that if that comes to fruition, because he was a 4-star prospect out of Durham, and Duke expected like big things from him year 1 and year 2. They're kind of quiet. So if he can hit that next level as a junior for Duke with Wesley Williams, then that defensive line will be all right.
What else did we learn at ACC Kickoff with the Duke football team? Quarterbacks, certainly a big conversation. 2 of them were in attendance. We'll have that conversation when we come back here in just a moment on this Thursday episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show is presented by Gametime. Gametime is my absolute favorite when you're talking about tickets. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They've got awesome features like the view from your seat where you can get that panoramic view in the app before you buy. It's the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Forward we go here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson with Jordan Mann. He's a part of the Big J and Little J show. He's got his own personal Twitter account at JMan's Takes. He's been known for his Twitter love of the Duke football team. He's got a great account there as well. Promote yourself, man. What all you got going on these days?
How much time do you have, JJ? I have a Duke football only account, Duke FB fans. I think with an underscore now, because the other one got taken off. But Duke FB fans, that's the time of the year where I'm really tweeting about Duke football. I'll sometimes retweet my work on my personal account, J-Man's Takes. I came out with a little hype video, just sums up video of being a Duke football fan the last 9 months with Riley's injuries, Elko leaving, and Manny coming. So check that out on my Twitter account. And then YouTube is still J-Man_. See, I about forgot my YouTube there, JJ, but I think that covers all the bases.
Go check it all out. So talking about this Duke football team, you mentioned Riley Leonard's injury. Riley Leonard kind of steered the ship for Duke football over the past couple of seasons, and rightfully so, because of the great quarterback that he was. Duke's got to figure out who's going to steer the ship now for this year's team. Malik Murphy transfers in from Texas. Everyone in America thinks that he's ultimately going to be the job, but Grayson Loftus started 5 games for Duke in Leonard's absence last season, did a really nice job. Both those guys were asked a whole lot about being at ACC Kickoff together and being in a quarterback competition. Manny Diaz is getting looks like, hey, man, why are you bringing 2 quarterbacks here? What's going on? But a lot of people wanting to talk about that quarterback room right now for Duke.
Yeah, that's Manny. You can tell Manny has been around the block once or twice with bringing 2 QBs. He doesn't want to tip his hand before Elon, which, I get. But it has to be Malik Murphy. And the reason for that is strictly Duke really has done a fantastic job. They were a little behind to start with the NIL, and they've done a really good job of fundraising money to where they are being more than competitive in that field. Where if you think about Duke Duke football and NIL, you think they're behind. No, Duke is really stepping up their game in that, and they landed Malik Murphy because of that. And Manny's known Malik Murphy since he was 14 or 15, recruiting him. And so there's always been a connection there. And Grayson being there is a very good job by Manny Diaz to cause some sort of distraction and stuff. But also, I like that Grayson Loftus was there because it's a thank you for what you did this past season for Duke. I mean, won a bowl game, should have beat Carolina. He's put 45 up at UNC, should have won. And you win the bowl game. He did a great job being a true freshman, third-string quarterback.
And Loftus is still a young quarterback. Like, college football is still ahead of it. Just because you might not be the starter does not mean all of a sudden you're not a good player anymore, right? And that there's not a future for you, even on the Duke football team. Like, I was a really big fan of talking to Grayson Loftus. I had him on Locked On Blue Devils when he was a high school senior right after he committed to the program. And now to see him representing the team, going through a coaching change, being the kind of loudest voice on the offensive side of the ball in that locker room in so many ways. Coach Diaz talked frequently about those 13 days that Duke did not have a head coach, transitioning from Mike Elko to Manny Diaz. And it's somebody like Grayson Loftus, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, that's holding them together.
Yeah, Grayson Loftus deserves all the flowers in the world for, like I said, what he did last year and how he's handling the situation of, like, he's a true freshman, got the starting role last 4 games of the season or whatever. Came into year 2, thought it was going to be him and Henry battling it out, Henry Beelan. Well, surprise, here comes a portal guy that has the name, has the accolades, and is coming from Texas to take your job, or wanting to take your job. And Grayson hasn't blinked. He's been I've heard nothing but good things about him behind closed doors. And now he's alongside Malik Murphy at ACC Media Day because it just shows the type of character he has. So shout out to him and shout out to all the freshmen that stayed with Duke going from that coaching process.
College football is changing. That's for sure. College football changing going into the season. We talk about the transfer portal. We talk about NIL. We talk about conference realignment. We can talk about a 2-minute warning is now being added to the game. The clock will continue to run on first downs. And then a really big conversation this week And last week, even at, SEC media days, Big 10 media days, Big 12 media days, everyone talking about now in the college game, coaches on the sideline will have the ability to talk with their quarterbacks pre-snap, like the NFL, and getting to hear Grayson and Malik talk about going through spring ball with that. It's a little different. Like, you got to get used to that. Both of them talking about it can be easy to potentially overthink from time to time in those scenarios.
That, and then we live in a society where TikToks and YouTube Shorts take over the world, so the attention span of these younger guys are like a goldfish, JJ. So I feel like they're going to be like, what'd you say? Can you repeat that? It's going to take, not at Duke, but other places, it's going to take to where I wonder if they're going to try it and it's not going to work, so they're just going to go back to the old ways. Because that's an earful, no pun intended. That's an earful which you have to listen to and tell other guys to do before the microphone cuts off.
I think when you look at it, and again, the environments that you could play in, crowd noise can make it really difficult to hear those things. But the perspective that the coaches have, I thought it was interesting, kind of talking about, okay, if this is a 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15 scenario, a coach is able to verbally tell the guy, we got 2 downs to work with here. You don't necessarily have to get it all on one big play. That can be a big bonus for your young quarterback, or a quarterback of any team for that matter, knowing that the coach's intentions are to go for it on 4th down. I don't have to get it all. Like, that was one specific example I can recall from the conversations this week and with the Duke football team in particular, where I'm like, yeah, okay, I like that. But that is a lot for these quarterbacks to learn. And Grayson and Malik are going, I just don't want to overthink too much.
Yeah, I listened to like the Manning cast, and they went through like a read that traction on Twitter, and Peyton Manning was saying that was reading off something, and Eli was getting frustrated, and I could see how that could happen in the college world, because NFL is a different beast. Now you're bringing that to college. Sounds good in theory. I'm curious to see how it pans out at this level.
All right, we've got more to talk about with ACC Kickoff in Charlotte this week. We'll take one more break on the program today, and then we'll be back to wrap up the conversation with our good pal Jordan Mann here on Locked On Blue Devils. Thanks so much again for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen or first watch each and every day. Again, please make sure that you check out our podcast feed, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, we got to let you know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, it's our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today. Of course, all the part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll bring him back in now. Jordan Mann's here with us again. Follow him on X at JMan's Takes, talking about ACC Kickoff, college football returning, and everybody wanted to know what these players think about the new college football video game being back, what they think of their ratings. You can go read stories and see clips on your social media feeds, but we got to talk to the Jordan Mann about this as well, because if you do follow him on J-Man's Takes, the EA servers have not been his friend recently. What have you thought of the game, man? Tell us about it.
The game, I think, is perfect. But yes, the EA servers, it only happens for Online Dynasty, and me and my younger brothers, 3 of them, have an Online Dynasty. And the servers were down for like 2 days, and it was killed the whole mood because we had free time. So that's what I was tweeting about servers. But I love the game. People that complain about the tackling and stuff, get over it. It's a video game. And also, it's college football where games are in the 50s sometimes. So I love the game. And if I was it's a good thing I'm not in college and was not a college football player, because I would do no work. I would go to 0 workouts. I'd call in sick. I have COVID, coach. I got 2 weeks. I'm playing my Online Dynasty.
How cool is it that we've got the actual players in the game, right? I mean, everybody loved the different modes that you had. From Dynasty mode has always been amazing. I think it helps a lot of people understand the coaching carousel and what exactly that looks like. Road to Glory is still an amazing game mode that they've got as well, creating yourself and being a player within it. But now in the game, like Malik Murphy's actually there. Jordan Moore is actually there at wide receiver.
Yeah, look, and it's very awesome to see their names out there. But one thing, I'll give one complaint, and I'm going to use your platform for it, is
please.
Malik Murphy is number 6, not number 7, EA Sports.
That has bothered me, yes.
Sean Brown is not in the game, deserves to be in the game. It's not because he opted out. Nicky Dalmolin is not in the game. There's a generated player, a generic player that's like the starting free safety for Duke. And I'm like, what is happening? So we got to get that. We need to update the rosters a little bit, because if, to my knowledge, no Duke player opted out. And if any Duke player did opt out, you're insane, because this is the game of the century right now. And you need to be in the game. If Arch Manning came back and changed his mind, you should change your mind.
Yeah, all the animations that are built within the game are incredible. Seeing the stadiums themselves, you've got the Howard's Rock at Clemson, you've got the Eagle Flight at Auburn, Boomer Sooners running out on the field prior to the game. I mean, it's insane, the details that are there. What do you think of Wallace Wade?
I think it's great. The only thing that is, again, I'm nitpicking as a Duke football fan, but when they run out, they point to the no fans that are at the scoreboard when they run out. And I'm like, there's no seats over there, but I get what you're going for. But it is, look, it's really, besides that.
I hadn't thought about that. That is super, wow, yeah, you're right.
They're just pointing to themselves on the scoreboard because there's just trees over there in the practice field. I'm like, what are we looking at? But it's fine, because they did like 300 stadiums, and all of them are borderline perfect. And the dynamic crowd that they do, if you're winning, crowd shows up. You're losing, nobody shows up. I think that's awesome. And I really do think they knocked it out of the park. I'm being picky, obviously, but all jokes aside, I love the game.
I did not hear this from one of the Duke quarterbacks. This was discussed by a quarterback these past few weeks. Regarding the game coming out. Obviously, you get workouts together. You want to figure out the timing and whatnot on a practice field when you're thinking about that quarterback and wide receiver relationship. One quarterback said, we get a better picture of it by looking at the game, right? And so from the Duke perspective, you've got a visual of Malik Murphy finding a healthy Eli Pankel, or what Samir Hagans can be like for this Duke football team. The skill position guys for Duke going into 2024. Take the video game out of it. Are you pretty fired up for what we'll see on offense?
I think I'll give you a little preview of what I think for my Duke football preview. I think the wide receiver position is an upgrade than last year, is a bigger upgrade. And I know Duke lost Calhoun, but I think Duke will see more of a freshman Samir Hagans and a sophomore Samir Hagans. Pankel's coming back. Like, the depth from top to bottom is better than last year. I mean, Jontavis Robertson is like wide receiver 5 or 6, and he's a 4-year guy.
Yeah.
So
Javon Harvey coming in from Old Dominion. Yeah.
And I've heard good things about Javon Harvey. And so obviously Jordan Moore, year 3, like, with this new air raid type of offense, I'm very excited about the wide receiver core.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about the Duke football team. I hope people get more and more excited as we get closer to the start of fall camp, and certainly closer to Friday, August 30th, when Duke football hits the field. Jordan, it is so great to see you once again, as always. Thanks for taking time to be on the show today, man.
It's always a pleasure, JJ.
That's Jordan Mann joining us here on the program. Almost called him Jordan Moore. We want Jordan Moore to make big plays on the football field. We want Jordan Mann back with us each and every week to talk about all the great things in Duke football and Duke basketball. That does it for our show here today. Thanks so much for your support. As always, we're back at it again tomorrow. Ben McCormick of Duke Wisdom stops by for a Friday episode of Locked On Blue Devils. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.